Dear Father, I have noticed that of the four market structures, perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition and oligopoly, oligopoly is the most difficult to analyze.
Analysis is difficult because of the interdependence among firms in such a market. Now, I will tell you the last concept, that is, game theory, to get a workable understanding of the interdependence of oligopoly firms. Basically, game theory is a mathematical technique used to analyze the behavior of decision makers who try to reach an optimal position through game playing or the use of strategic behavior, who are fully aware of the interactive nature of the process at hand, and who anticipate the moves of other decision makers. Let me tell you a famous game in game theory, and then we will use it to discuss oligopoly behavior. The name of the game is Prisoner's Dilemma. Basically, this game illustrates a case in which individually rational behavior leads to a jointly inefficient outcome. The lesson of the game has been described this way. You do what is best for you. I will do what is best for me. And somehow, we end up in a situation that is not best for either of us. Here is how the game is played. The facts: two men, Tom and Harry, are arrested and charged with jointly committing a crime. They are put into separate cells so that they cannot communicate with each other. The district lawyer goes to each man separately and says the following: if you confess to the crime and agree to turn state's evidence, and if your accomplice does not confess, I will let you off with a $500 fine. If your accomplice confesses to the crime and agrees to turn state's evidence, and if you do not confess, I will fine you $5,000. If both you and your accomplice remain silent and refuse to confess to the crime, I will charge you with a lesser crime which I can prove you committed, and both you and your accomplice will pay fines of $2,000 each. If both you and your accomplice confess, I will fine each of you $3,000. Let's now analyze the options and consequences. Each man has two choices: confess or not to confess, as shown in the exhibit. According to the possibilities laid out by the district lawyer, Box 1 says, if both men do not confess, each pays a fine of $2,000. Box 2 says, if Harry confesses and Tom does not, then Harry gets off with a light fine of $500 and Tom pays the stiff penalty of $5,000. Box 3 says, if Harry does not confess and Tom confesses, then Harry pays the stiff penalty of $5,000 and Tom pays the light fine of $500. Finally, the box 4 says, if both men confess, each pays $3,000. Okay, let's see what Harry must be thinking after considering his choices and their possible outcomes. I have two options: confess or not to confess. And Tom also has the same two options. Let me ask myself two questions. If Tom chooses not to confess, what is the best thing for me to do? The answer is to confess, because if I do not confess, I will end up in box 1 paying $2,000. But if I confess, I will end up in box 2 paying only $500. No doubt about it. If Tom chooses not to confess, I should confess. If Tom chooses to confess, what is the best thing for me to do? The answer is to confess, because if I do not confess, I will end up in box 3 paying $5,000. But if I confess, I will pay $3,000. No doubt about it. If Tom chooses to confess, I should confess. So, no matter what Tom chooses to do, confess or not to confess, he is always better off if he confesses. Harry decides to confess to the crime. The situation is the same for Tom. Tom goes through the same mental process that Harry does. Asking himself the same two questions Harry asked himself, Tom gets the same answers and draws the same conclusion. Tom decides to confess to the crime. The outcome. The lawyer goes to each man and asks what he has decided. Both Tom and Harry says, I confess. The outcome is shown in the box 4, with each man paying a fine of $3,000.
Is there any outcome where they would have avoided paying less?
Yes, there is an outcome represented by one of the 4 boxes that is better for both Tom and Harry than the outcome where each pays $3,000. In box 1, both Tom and Harry pay $2,000. To get to box 1, all that 2 men had to do was keep silent and not confess. Now, let's change the game a little bit. What would happen if the lawyer gave Harry and Tom another chance? Suppose he tells them that he will not accept their confessions. Instead, he wants them to talk it over together for 10 minutes, after which he will come back, place each man in a separate room, and ask for his decision. The second time, he will accept each man's decision no matter what. Will a second chance change the outcome? Most people will say yes, arguing that Tom and Harry will now see that their better choice is to remain silent, so that each ends up with a $2,000 fine instead of a $3,000 fine. Let's assume this happens and Tom and Harry enter into an agreement to remain silent.